Hi guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we have my very first Bestech knife. This is the Swordfish. It comes in 3 colors. They all have the front black bolster, and you can get this tan color, or you can get a nice dark green, or you can get a bright flaming orange. And other than that, the knives are the same. D2 steel, tool steel, and it's a nice full-size flipping folder. Flips very, very well. You've got bearings in there, ball bearings. Very comfortable knife in almost any grip that I tried. I've been carrying this thing for a little over a week now. Not every single day, most days. Actually, it's closer to 2 weeks now, isn't it? Yeah. So this is what we've got to look at. Nice little thumb riser there. For the price that it is, this is a very good deal. I got mine from Massdrop, and they've got a sale on again right now. I think it's going to go on for another day, maybe another 2 days, and $39 US for this knife. The best price I could find anywhere else was $52 US. So that's a pretty good deal. $12, $13 off. And so if you'd like to get one of these, I'm going to have links in the description below, how you can join Massdrop and how you can get to this knife. If you join underneath my link, then I get a little bit of a referral, and then I get a tiny bit of a kickback potentially in the future sometime. I'm not sure exactly how that works with Massdrop, but something like that is what works. One little word of warning. Massdrop sometimes has higher prices for knives than the competition. You always have to do your comparison shopping, no matter where you buy. So, if you're interested in the full review on this guy, stick around. Once I had prepared my review, I went and I checked out a couple other videos on this. There seem to be a couple of people who have had some issues with the D2 steel. D2 does have a tendency to chip out a little bit at the edge if the grind angle is too narrow. That is, this angle coming up here goes up on an angle like this, if this is your cutting edge right there. If it's too narrow of an angle like that, the steel's in here, then there's not enough support behind the steel and it chips out easier. So the way to resolve that is to go on a little bit wider of an angle. Thing is, at about 20 degrees, there's really not much of a problem at all. And 20 degrees is the norm for full-size folding knives. The industry tends to do 20 degrees per side for sharpening. So, like I said, D2 steel, and then we've got G10 on this front bolster and on the main color option. We've got steel liners, and they are skeletonized a little bit, and I'll show you pictures of that later on. Pocket clip is right side tip down only, and it's a fairly deep carry pocket clip. Lanyard hole is in a very good position way back at the back here. Really dislike it when they're too far forward. The flipper tab, is hollowed out a little bit, and it only works for the light switch method, that is being pulled back like that. It's nicely rounded everywhere. My finger just sort of slipped off. It doesn't normally slip off. It's just I was looking at the screen of my LCD at the same time as I was trying this, and so I wasn't quite concentrating. It is tricky to make videos and review stuff at the same time. So because it comes fairly much to a point, it doesn't really work that well to just push straight down and then have it flip out. Notice my finger came back. It has to come back just because of the shape of that flipper tab. But there's no jimping anywhere around that flipper tab. It's just nicely rounded everywhere. You've got an interesting sharpener's choil on this knife. So it's just a shallow cutout, just a little bit deeper than the cutting edge. I'll show you a close-up picture of this area. And then you've got the long flat area here and a really gentle belly. Swedge all the way down the blade. So I'm calling this a saber grind because up here it terminates before it gets up to the spine. If it went all the way up to the spine up here and then there was the swedge, I'd call it a full flat grind. You know, there's very little difference between the two on this knife because it's a high flat saber. We've got a little bit of a thumb riser right here with some jimping in it, and it's nice gentle jimping. It's not too aggressive. It's actually a very good thumb ramp there. Good texture, good grip. And if you really move forward, and you shouldn't put your finger up here, it's just, you're going to cut yourself. Depending on the size and shape of your hand, yeah, people do have different shapes and stuff. You can sometimes get your thumb up past this thumb ramp and get it in that way to do some fine cutting. I did that for quite a while when I was cutting a bunch of cardboard the other day, and I found it to be fairly comfortable. I almost wish it was just back 1/8 of an inch before the jimping started, like just slightly back. That would have been more comfortable, but this wasn't bad for my size hand. And my hands are right on the borderline between large and extra large for North American sizes. That's between 10 and 11 in European sizes. Even the liner here has a little bit of a relief cut for the action for the spring. And lockup is very good. It's exactly what I like to see a brand new knife to be at. So you're looking right in this area. I'll show you a close-up of that too. And blade centering, and we're looking back here. That's really good when the knife is closed. It's not exactly in the middle, but it's very close. And then we've got a backspacer back here, and it comes from here. It starts here, and it just comes up and terminates right there, about a little less than 1/3 of the way along the back of the knife. So it's a small backspacer. 2 screws are holding it together. It's not that hard to get in there to clean it if you needed to. Very much like an open pillar construction. And well, let's show you the insides now. I'll show you the ball bearings, and I'll show you the skeletonizing and everything, and take a quick peek at that stuff. You will have noticed that on the show side, the pivot is a decorated design. Decorated design, yeah. It's kind of redundant. It looks a little bit like their logo. It's sort of like a B shape. And I'm sure they've got a tool that can fit in there if you need to. And I've got some tools too, and I'll show you them that fit in there to hold it. But you don't really need to. You can just take your Torx right here, unscrew it, and it comes apart. No problem. Let's do the dimensions now. Cutting edge, 9.75 centimeters, which is 3.84 inches. Big blade. The length of the blade, so from the tip of the G10 right here to the tip of the blade, is 10 centimeters, 3.93 inches. So it's almost a 4-inch blade. The blade thickness, 3.33 millimeters. That's 0.131 inches. The blade depth, so spine to the belly right here, 2.47 centimeters. That's 0.973 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is perfect. I like to target on this size knife for it to be 0.5 millimeter thick right behind there, and that's what it is. That's 0.0195 inches. The handle length, 12.8 centimeters, 5 inches. The grip area, so between the flipper and this tiny little flare at the back, 10.5 centimeters, 4.14 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.43 centimeters. That's 0.563 inches, just over 0.5 inch thick. The handle depth, spine to the belly, and it's right here in the middle that it's the deepest, 2.54 centimeters an inch. The full length of the knife with the blade deployed, 22.7 centimeters, 8.94 inches. So basically 9-inch knife. Weighs 133 grams, 4.65 ounces. Thanks to that skeletonizing, and that's a really good thing. And the measurement for the angle behind for the final grind right there, 22 degrees per side. So that's plenty. That shouldn't have any of the chip out. I didn't actually see the videos that talked about the chip out. I'm wondering if they sharpened it to a sharper angle. I don't know. I just heard it from a different reviewer that said that they had seen that. Zelric did some testing on it on some Bestech knives as well, and he could not replicate that issue. But it's a known thing with D2 steel. So that's one of the risks you take when you buy D2 steel. It can sometimes chip out a little bit. So 22 degrees per side, that should be very, very good for that. And I did not experience any chip out at all. And I used this knife, like I said, for almost 2 weeks. Most days as my primary carry, because I was just enamored with it since it's my first Bestech. Now, Bestech, the brand, makes higher end knives, with titanium handle scales and other stuff, like more expensive folders. This is their budget line. They call their budget line the G10 line. So with the G10 handle scales, they cost less money. And it looks like they're going to be making some fixed blades, and I hope that happens pretty soon. I haven't seen anything on their website yet, but that would probably be a good thing. How much does this knife cost? I mentioned at the beginning, $39.99 at Massdrop, which is where I recommend that you get it while it's on sale right now, if you want one. With the conversion rate right now, that equals about $50.45 Canadian for this knife. At that price, I think this is a good deal. D2 steel, full-size blade, done quite well. Let's talk about the fit and finish and all that stuff. Any unique features? Nothing really big. I do like this bolster look, with that chevron kind of shape. I would have liked a nice sharper angle there, but I understand why they rounded it off a little bit. Not a problem. It sort of matches the front here because that's not a super sharp angle. You probably don't want it super sharp either. You even have a little bit of a relief cut. I don't, see if I can get the light just right. You sort of see it when I go back and forth. Right here, there's a little bit of a chamfer. That's just a little touch to help make the pinky much more comfortable back there. And on other grips, with your index finger up there, it just sort of rounds over a whole lot better. So you can fit people with extra large hands in here, no problem. You can hold it different ways if you want to. It can take any kind of grip that you can imagine. It works quite well with a great variety of grips. It's just very well made that way. The top spine here is just a tiny little, on the top edge of the knife here, the corner's just broken a little bit, just rounded off a little bit. And at the bottom here, very much the same, except for that chamfer on both sides here, which kind of doesn't make sense to me that they did it on this side as well, except for people that maybe don't want a pocket clip at all, and they'll take the pocket clip right off. I did want to point out right here, there's a little bit of a cutout. It's kind of unique the way they did it. Instead of just doing a scoop, they sort of, dropped down almost 1/8 of an inch, did a flat cutout, and then come back up again. No, there's nothing wrong with the way they did it. It's actually super functional. It's very easy to get your thumb in there and to unlock the knife. So no problem doing that. Very, very simple and straightforward. I can do it with my left hand as well. I'll show you what it looks like in the pocket with this pocket clip now. It slides over the edge very well. The way this scoop comes out, it's just done very, very well. Every pair of pants that I've tried it on, it works quite well. I've mostly worn different kinds of denim and some other slacks as well, just lighter slacks. It works really, really well. We've got about 1/2 centimeter sticking out, just a tiny bit over 1/4 of an inch. And in this color, this tan, it really kind of blends in. You just have the glint off of the steel pocket clip showing off that you've got a knife there. Very comfortable in hand, very comfortable in the pocket. It doesn't feel like it's got a lot of extra weight there. And you've got a big knife that is easy to carry. There is one little flaw that I found on mine. And first I'll show you how it's done properly. And that is on the show side. you've got the matching up of the G10 between this front bolster type section and the G10 here. And you take a nice close look. Hopefully it'll focus. And it just matches up very well. That seam is seamless. But on the other side, if I can get the light just right, I think you can see it right near the apex where it changes direction. There's a bit of a space there. And it's not super big, but yeah, I can see it with the naked eye. I can feel it with my thumbnail. It catches on when I slide over it. And I'll show you a close-up picture with my USB camera that'll really show it off. It's not quite as bad as it seems when you look at the USB picture, the microscope picture, but you know, I would be thinking that Bestech could do better than that. And why would I say that? Well, because of this. You know, they can do it very, very well. And so I kind of wish they would have made this side just as well. This is their budget line, and so I have to throw them a little bit of slack. And it's not terrible. It's just the one thing that I noticed. And that's being, you know, just slightly nitpicky. Other than that, there's just no problems here. All the screws are, you know, done very well. None of them are, you know, slightly stripped out or turned off or anything, which sometimes you find on some budget knives. It's just a really well done knife. I like the name. It suits it, Swordfish. It's got that kind of swordfish look to me. Very efficient kind of puncturing if you need to do that. Cuts very well. Not too heavy. And it's got a good look. Let's do just a little bit of cut demonstration and then we'll move on to the ending of the video. We've got some manila rope here. Up, slid off it. It does slide a little bit because it doesn't have any teeth on it. And this kind of material doesn't like to cut very well, so it wants the blade to skip off. So cut through that, no problem. It can cut harder woods. I'll try my left hand this time. This is a maple, which is quite hard. And this maple is a very hard piece. If the edge is going to chip out, it's going to chip out cutting something like that. And that edge is still perfect. I think I got like 6 or 7 layers of paracord here. And it zipped through. Oh, one of them slipped out. And that's because it was the end that wasn't tied down. So that sort of slipped out of my hand. But so 6. No problem at all doing 7 layers of paracord. Very little effort. And it still cuts paper just fine, I'm going to guess. No problem. And that's a push cut where I'm just trying to stay at the same spot. I've not stropped this edge. This is just the factory edge all the way through. And the reason I left it with just the factory edge instead of sharpening it is because when I looked at it, the edge was even all the way down, which is very good on a budget knife. I've had so many knives lately that, you know, part of the grind was, you know, 18 degrees, part of the grind was 23 or 24 degrees, and it would just wonky all over the place on so many knives. But this knife, even all the way up and down the grind, so it's done very well. I had no reason to sharpen it until it goes dull, and it's not there yet. So what do I think of this knife? Well, I'm buying the next Bestech that comes in at a reasonable price. That tells you something. It looks nice, works nice, feels nice. There's just a tiny little bit of fit and finish that they could improve on. Other than that, I recommend this thing very, very highly. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, becoming Patreon supporters. So many different ways that you can help out the channel, and you guys are very helpful in all those ways. Till next time, remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.